Watson, do read me back that last bit.
The days of the great cases are past. Man, or at least criminal man, has lost all enterprise and originality.
Sherlock put that rather well, I think. Do go on, Watson.
As to my own little practice, it seems to be degenerating into an agency for recovering lost lead pencils.
Me and Sherlock have much in common, I think. I would do better if the university atmosphere were improved. It's all wrong. There should be London fog and handsome cabs, that sort of thing.
I declare, Shirley Holmes, you and Dottie Watson here are going to be put away any day now. It's just not seemly for two young ladies to be so obsessed by Mr. Arthur Conan Doyle's creation.
You wouldn't understand, Melanie.
Why don't you want to model your lives after some private detective who's never anything but fiction is something I find mighty incomprehensible. It's not very genteel.
As Sherlock himself phrased it, it is a very bad idea to come to a conclusion before you've reached all the evidence.
Evidence? How you do go on. I declare I don't understand two words in a sentence when you practice.
For your information, I'm writing a term paper on Sherlock Holmes.
I certainly feel sorry for the professor who has to read it.
Holmes, are we going to tolerate this?
I'm inclined to think so. That's what Sherlock would have said.
Go right ahead. I consider it a compliment to be ignored by you two. You're a scandal to the whole university. How do you expect to attract any gentlemen callers with your outlandish behavior? Last semester, you were Edgar Allan Poe. I declare, I certainly got tired of those Nevermores. Your mother must have been frightened by a London library.
The Dean of Women has threatened, as she so crudely put it, to kick me out. My age cannot improve. Doesn't she understand? And as a theatre major, I must devote my entire life to my art.
Encore!
So what if I'm flunking Biology 101A for the third time? I just find all the talk of creepy, crawly things and living cells repulsive.
You'll care plenty if your mean old pappy finds out you've been expelled for poor grades.
Only you understand me, Shirley. For you, too, live in a world of illusion. The only true world for a free soul.
Sit down, Beta. You'll feel better.
What if the Dean carries out her threat? Oh, the pain of it all! I'm going to kill myself.
Now what?
What an agony to be the world's greatest undiscovered talent. I'll throw myself into a river. That's what I'll do.
What time? I'd like to invite some of my beaux. They might find it amusing. Mrs. Hudson! You're just in time.
For what? Nothing serious, Mrs. Hudson.
Lady's gonna throw herself into the river.
Again?
Nobody understands me.
Aren't you being mighty insensitive, Mrs. Hudson? Stop talking like something out of a Sherlock Holmes mystery and take that ridiculous pipe out of your mouth. There's nothing in it, Mrs. Hudson.
It's for a fact, Mrs. Hudson. Helps Holmes here. You're closer to the master detective.
I put your tea things on your desk.
Thank you, Melanie. That was thoughtful.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Bonsoir, Mademoiselle Fifi.
Oh, bonsoir, Monsieur Holmes. Bonsoir, Dr. Watson.
I declare, it's difficult enough to make Fifi understand the English language without making her part of your stupid game.
It is not a game.
Definitely not.
What case have you two ever solved?
Oh, Monsieur Holmes discovered who took my laundry by mistake.
That took brilliance. Especially since you had the other girl's laundry, and her name and address were on a laundry ticket.
Holmes here was instrumental in solving the baffling hubcap case.
Baffling? How you do go on. Anyone insane enough to spend 6 days and nights sitting in the only car parked in the campus lot during Easter vacation could have solved that.
Have you forgotten that it was Holmes here who solved the case of the subway slasher by deducing the slasher was nothing more than an unsuspecting midget with a pair of ice skates slung casually over his right shoulder?
I'm sure the FBI would require your services momentarily. I declare I'm mortally embarrassed to invite any of my beaux here when you two are about. They might get the idea that this place is bedlam.
I I wish you girls would stop this bickering.
Would you like me to park your car as usual, Mrs. Hudson? You don't want to leave it out on that. There might be a return of the baffling hubcap case.
That can wait. There's some things I want to discuss. Please, take seats. Oh!
We shall take them, madame.
No, Fifi, it's simply a way of phrasing. Don't mean you should take the chairs anywhere.
Sometimes, I think we ought to exchange our exchange student for another model.
Charity woman. Fifi simply has a unique way of expressing herself.
This place is filled with unique people.
That'll be enough of that, Melanie. Seats, girls, if you please. Let's see. Beta, Melanie, Fifi, Shirley, Dottie. Where's Sniffles?
I'm here, Mrs. Hudson.
Not another cold.
I took 2 aspirins, swabbed with Listerine, and swabbed with Listerine.
Sniffles, you know perfectly well there's nothing really wrong with you.
I'm not well.
I won't comment on that. However, you had a headache on Monday, a toothache on Tuesday, what you thought was appendicitis yesterday, and now you have a cold. Who knows what you'll have tomorrow?
Another excuse to miss class if she can manage to catch a bug. I declare, Sniffles, you manage to attract germs like I managed to attract Bo.
What?
Sometimes it's just hard to tell them apart.
I was speaking, or trying to.
Yes, ma'am.
As you all know, it is my duty to report to the Dean of Women my personal opinions on your character and behavior. I do this at midterm.
That's now.
I'm afraid I've had to turn in a rather negative report. You, Beta, never attend your studies unless you can play act. You, Melody, never study at all. Your thoughts are only for your gentlemen callers. I can speak for myself, Mr. Holmes. Shirley. Sniffles, you belong in a hospital, or think you do. Fifi, I'm afraid your language progress is nil.
Neil? What is this Neil?
But Mrs. Hudson, this will look very bad on the report. Indeed it will. Perhaps next term I'll be able to turn in a better report. You know my opinion of you, Shirley. Immature and impressionable. This mania you have for detective work will get you into trouble. Mark my words. I'm certain the only reason you came to this house is because my name happens to be the same as Sherlock Holmes' housekeeper. What a pity our address can't be 221B Baker Street. Holmes considers it something of a tragedy.
What do any of you know of tragedy? My whole life's a tragedy.
You haven't written our parents.
I shall, this evening. I've written yours already, Dottie.
What did you tell them?
That you're perfectly willing to go along with any nonsense that comes your way. Like the others, your grades are suffering badly.
You can't do that. Pappy would drag me back home for sure. He made me promise to never even look at a boy during the school year.
You brought it on yourself.
I told my parents if I came to this university, I would stop being a hypochondriac.
It's your fault you enjoy imagining you're in poor health, not mine.
But the Dean of Women has already written my parents, so if you write them even more...
Perhaps this will shock you in some hard, realistic schoolwork.
But I have put in for a scholarship, and I need your removal.
That's approval, Fifi. Approval. And that approval will have to wait for a time. That is, unless they revoke your student's visa. You don't apply yourself. You only read books written in French and foreign films that haven't been dubbed into English.
Could you speak a little slower, madame? I do not understand much of what you say.
There, you see. Melanie, didn't you bring the sacrament?
I put a new bottle on the dining room table.
No need, I'll get it. The letters I'm writing will be for your own good. I hope you appreciate that.
We can't let her off those letters. But Pappy would drag me back home for sure.
My undiscovered talent would be lost in the sands of time.
Oh, time! The little hand is on the 7, and the big hand is on the 5.
Not that kind of time, Fifi.
I think I'm coming down with mononucleosis.
Are you ready for more of Sherlock's observations, Watson?
Sure, Holmes.
Observations? Who cares about musty old observations at a time like this?
I do not want to be in the center of town. The water is too hot. I have baggage at the station.
Are you ready, Watson?
Quite ready, Holmes.
Splendid. recommended?
There are 75 perfumes, which it is very necessary that a criminal investigator should be able to distinguish from each other. That's from...
Don't tell me. The Hound of Baskervilles!
Gad, Holmes, you're amazing!
Elementary, Watson. That's the book you're reading from.
Mrs. Hudson!
Odd!
What is it, Holmes?
Bitter almonds! I distinctly smell bitter almonds! Mrs. Hudson is dead! I'm waiting for him! Melanie, nobody is leaving this room. What's in the door?
At once, Holmes.
Have you lost the precious little sense you possess? Mrs. Hudson has probably just died of a heart seizure.
Call the gendarmes!
Call a doctor.
Call my agent!
Thank you, Watson.
I demand that you call the proper authorities.
And then some bumbling police official let the criminal escape.
Criminal? What criminal?
I see no reason to involve the Scotland Yard in this.
Scotland Yard? What are you doing?
The phone is dead. The door is locked. No one can get out.
No one can get in.
Cutting the telephone only increases the advantage of isolation. Right, Holmes?
That's how Sherlock would reason it.
S'il vous plaît, I do not understand. What has happened?
Happened. Murder has happened, Phoebe. Cold and deliberate.
What murder?
Why, Mrs. Hudson's, of course.
It's your overactive imagination saying that.
The corpse is not my imagination, nor the distinct smell of belladonna in the tea.
Bella who?
Belladonna, Fifi. From the Italian. Ordinarily, it means beautiful lady. In lethal doses, it means death. Relative of the deadly nightshade plant.
Holmes's knowledge of botany is astonishing, Fifi. He's well up on belladonna.
But belladonna doesn't smell like bitter almonds, you fool. That's cyanide.
Then our murderess must be even more clever than I suspected.
I'm going to faint.
I'm leaving for hell.
Melanie, you aren't going anywhere. I am an expert in judo. I hope I can't cause it through my prowess. Watson, see the data.
Of course, Holmes.
And just what makes you think one of us killed Mrs. Hudson?
Melanie. Motive, Melanie. Each one of you girls had ample reason to make sure Mrs. Hudson never sent out those letters.
And what about yourself?
The detective can't be the murderer. That would be cheating. You clearly aren't up on your detective literature.
What you have is very little to go on.
Sherlock once said that to a great mind, nothing is little.
Except the circumference of your brain box.
What happened? Suddenly, everything went black and I heard someone whisper, "Murder!"
Oui, someone put poison in Madame Hudson's little pot, and she drank it inside herself, and poof, no more Madame Hudson.
I think the thing to do now would be to solve this case. If you'll be so kind as to be seated.
I prefer to stand.
Very well then. Watson, you'll take notes.
Certainly, Holmes. This really is a big chance, isn't it?
A big chance to get into a heap of trouble. Murder is no game.
Indeed, Melanie, murder is no game.
And how do you expect to find the killer?
As Sherlock once said, crime is common, logic is rare, and therefore it is from the crime rather than the logic that one must dwell.
Huh? Perhaps if you explained your methods, Holmes?
Good thinking there, Watson. Like Sherlock, I always explain my methods to my friend Watson here, or to anyone who would find an intelligent interest in them.
That's no one in this room.
Perhaps I should discuss my fee.
Fee.
You're not seriously asking us to pay.
Like Sherlock, I never vary my scale of charge unless I remit it altogether.
Shouldn't we cover Mrs. Hudson with something? It's indecent having her out when she's not even breathing.
I'm thinking there, Melanie, Watson, be a good chap and throw something over the old thing. A Persian might do.
Not the rug!
I have the very thing.
There we go, Watson. magnifying glass?
Right here, Holmes.
And what are y'all planning on doing with that?
Study footprints.
Footprints?
As Sherlock once remarked, there is no branch of the detective science so underutilized or important as the art of studying footprints.
A case of the Sussex vampire, if I'm not mistaken.
You're mistaken, Watson. It's from work entitled A Study in Scarlet.
But there are no footprints on a tea tray.
Good point there, Phoebe.
Besides, this room has more footprints than a theater lobby.
Good point there, Theta. Mrs. Hudson never was one with a vacuum. Plainly the poison was administered via the tea. East Indian by the looks of it, devilish stuff.
Tea is very common.
Yes, but as Sherlock once remarked, there's nothing so unnatural as the commonplace.
Oh yes, does anyone have a tea? Does anyone have a cough drop? I have a scratch in my throat.
Sniffles, it's not your throat we should be concerned about, but rather Mrs. Hudson's. You see, she drank the tea as she revealed the motive for her murder.
Thinking of who served the tea. That was Melanie. Good Lord, Holmes, it was Melanie!
You had
How you say? Dramatic? Like an actress would regress?
that's possess. Possess. A dramatic voice, like an actress would possess.
Good Lord, Holmes, it was Theta!
Elementary, Watson.
Nonsense! I'm innocent of crime. Besides, you're forgetting one big detail.
Theta, me and the elephant have much in common. I never forget.
Big ears.
There was one letter that was already written and ready to be sent out. Clearly, whoever that letter was written for is the killer.
Good Lord, Holmes, it was me!
Nonsense, Watson! Like Sherlock once knew. Besides, you would never get me to believe you would stoop so low as to do it, Mrs. Hudson.
Gad, Holmes, you're a brick.
Back to you, Theta. Mrs. Hudson's denunciation of the letter from the Dean of Women certainly